We're gonna go ahead and jump straight into it and see what we got lined up for the week. Um, this time, what I'm pretty much gonna do, I got a list. I posted a I posted a like a watch list on After Hours, and a ton of people gave me some tickets to look at. If you've been looking on there, I have been posting Oracle, ONDS, Micron, SoFi, and then I got a couple of more that I need to run down. So Um, this afternoon, we're just gonna run through a couple of them together. It may draw some attention to some stocks y'all may already be trading. It might draw your interest to some, some new stocks, new sectors. So I'm just gonna go through those. This is normally how I put together a little watch list. I see what everybody's watching. I go through and I grade them on based off of what I like the best, and then the ones that go up, I'll share those with y'all, and then the ones that just look like something major's coming down, then we'll go from there. So, um, as usual, we're gonna start off looking at first. I got the Fear and Greed Index pulled up, so let me share that with you guys real quick. Let's see. All right. So as of right now, just checking out the Fear and Greed Index, based off of CNN, we're still in a fear-based market, which is it's not by the dip, but it's we can expect some relief in the market. Okay, a lot of the stocks been flushing. We've seen Tesla drop pretty bad Friday. Um, Palantir, Robinhood, those stocks have been pushing back up. Netflix, but a lot of the market right now is kind of neutral based, in my opinion. From the top 10 holdings, semiconductors kind of been having a cool down opportunity for the past week or two. So we just want to keep our eyes open that we can expect some relief rallies maybe this week or next week. We're heading into, well, we've entered into a new month and also a new quarter. So earning seasons is going to be up on us pretty soon. So a lot of things are still settling. The dust is still settling in the market. As you can see, like I said, we're somewhere in that fear gauge. We're not extreme fear. We're not neutral. So we might not rally, but we'll definitely can look for some rebounding on a couple of stocks. Looking at the calendar from Forex Factory, we don't really have a busy week as far as red folder, orange folder events. ISM services, FOMC meetings Wednesday, and then unemployment claims Thursday. So not much data coming out this week. Um, and then coming off a short week, then we're just gonna have to see how a lot of these stocks, would have actually played out going into a full week. So right now, my ES chart should be back up, and we're heading back into kind of a peaky situation with ES. As you can see right now, above 7,600 for ES, we've been rejecting or selling back off. If we come and retest this area again, this would be, almost a triple top situation. Um, so honestly, I think that we can possibly see some more upside movement. The EMAs are starting to squeeze together on the 1 and the 4 hour. And normally when you start seeing these EMAs, well, these aren't EMAs, these are moving averages. But normally when you start seeing the moving averages, they all starting to straight out. That means it's more than likely waiting for a big explosion in either direction. Kind of like if you was watching the Bollinger Bands and you start seeing the upper and lower band squeeze together toward the middle band, you know that prices are starting to consolidate. and then we're expecting a big explosion for those bands to release in either direction. So, um, as of right now, just looking at the daily, we'll want to see the previous day's highs taken out for ES or for SPY. We'll want to look for these previous highs to be taken out right here, and that's kind of above 7,600. And then this will actually invalidate this bearish structure that we have going into today, because technically right now we're coming off a bearish day, um, but the last two closing daily candles were almost flat. So a lot of indecisiveness. Markets really not moving in either directions. So if you're not quick with your exits, you might enter in the correct direction for that part of the day, but towards um, the peak of that movement, we're seeing the reversal, come right back up. So we've been closing pretty flat over the past couple of days until we actually go ahead and break some highs or some lows. So looking at the weekly, which I said we can expect some upside movement, we're coming off a bullish week here. So we're coming off a bullish week. We're seeing moving averages starting to squeeze. All we're looking for is a breakout above these highs right here. We want to see price action actually retest 7,600 for ES, and then make that move up to see if we can come back up here and retest these wicks that we got up to the upside right here. This is around 76.34 ish. So, um, like I said, the situation is looking, we're approaching a resistance area for the third time if we continue to the upside. And we just needed to actually break out and break those previous highs for a little more confirmation to the upside. You feel me? So, just be cautious. You kind of got to play this by ear. We're coming off a bullish week, so we can play. Yeah, we can play to the upside until we take out the previous week's lows. What about the monthly? And we're still in a bearish monthly. So this is why we're seeing a lot of chop prices. We're right now we're coming off of a bullish week, but when we look at the monthly, this is where we're actually having to break out and break these highs to invalidate this bearish candle. So, like I said, as of right now, we're selling the rips, we buying the dips until we can take out this previous monthly highs. All right. So going into tomorrow, watch for consolidation. Sell the rips, buy the dips. Um, moving averages are starting to come together. So just be on your toes with it. Let's see where ES is. Well, SPY actually is right now. So overnight, right now, SPY is looking at 748.52. I had this trend right here, which is, we're kind of in a descending channel almost. But once we break these levels up here above 751, 752, and retest these highs around 755, 756, this is going to invalidate this trend line for right now. We just need to see if we can form some actual structure at these levels where we're peaking at right now. All right. It's probably the same with the Qs. They've actually been kind of having a different layout. I already got it drawn out actually, shit. So as you can see, we're more so the triple top is looking the same, but Qs have been dropping a whole lot faster because of the holdings with the semiconductors. If semi's not really moving, if AMD and MU and Nvidia and the rest of the semiconductors that's in the Qs holdings, if they're lagging or they're actually weak and dropping, then it's gonna flush the Qs a whole lot faster than it will with the SPY. So we got like a big red candle on Qs. If we go back to the daily, we've been chopping over the past couple of days. It's the difference, and that's what you want to pay attention to when you're actually going into the market day to day. how off are the two indexes SPY and Q with each other to really know, all right, maybe I need to check and see which sector's lagging. If the semiconductors are lagging, you're going to see Qs fall a whole lot faster. If the semiconductors are pumping, you're going to see nice gap ups on Qs, and you might see SPY lag behind a little bit. So as of right now, we're looking at kind of a triangle pattern with the Qs and a lot of rejection here above this 741 level. This is where we're seeing a lot of our resistance. Um, like I was saying, kind of triple toppy with SPY. It still can get that way with the Qs also. So we just want to look for a breakout above highs. Let's go to the weekly and see what that looks like. All right, so we want to break out these highs. That's sitting around 745. We wanna see prices retest up here and a breakout above 745.70. That's gonna give us some nice validation not only for this week, but to um, possibly continue swinging to the upside going into the next week. Um, Nothing's really safe actually. Nothing's actually safe in this market that we're in right now. It likes to move sideways for a good amount of time and have drastic moves to the upside. Um, Normally, when people are thinking about not even getting in, as you can see, like week over week, when it moves, it doesn't stop for nobody. It doesn't stop for nobody. You know, Trump gets to get his cake and eat it too, and you know, it literally happens before our eyes. So we just want to keep watch. We're going into our third week after having two bearish candles here on the weekly chart. We just want to see how prices are going to react down here around this. Let's zoom in a little further. Around this 702 to 695 level. So these are kind of our two breakout levels. Up here, which are the highs. And then if I just had to mark something out, it'd be this little area right here, because this is where a lot of our lows have been retesting and being bought up. Even if we draw this all the way back here, we see how a lot of price action has been bought up in this zone between 702 and 694. So even if we break down, we just could be headed for a longer period of consolidation pretty much. So nothing to really get excited for the market. The market has to kind of balance itself out with more earnings finna come back around. The powerhouses, the Teslas, the Google, the Metas. You know, the market has to make room for these massive earning plays to happen way ahead of time. Way ahead of time. So let's continue to watch the consolidation on the Qs here. Here's our triple top up here that we'll be watching for at 745. And then here's our support down here between 700 and 695 that we're going to watch for as far as support goes. All right. Let's look at the contracts form. And let's look at the 745 calls. Um, Let me look at my calendar to see how these expiration dates are looking. So we got the 10th, the 17th, the 24th, and the 31st. So let's go to 8th. That's Wednesday, 7:45. That should be more than enough time for us to at least retest highs this week. All right, so these are the options prices for Wednesday's 7:45 calls. How far left do you usually look for support channels? All right, real quick before I veer off into the options contract, we got a little TA question. All right, so let's look at it. This is the daily chart. This is normally what I just start off all my technical analysis from. And then from there, I work my charts either up or down. either from the daily to the weekly to the monthly, or down maybe from the daily to the 4 hour. I don't execute any TA below the 4 hour because I'm just looking for the bigger structure. How far back do I go? I just continue to check until I see where prices just naturally held up at or naturally rejected at. I'm not digging too far deep and trying to find, just deep diving until I know where prices naturally are gravitating back and forth towards. So let's look at Tesla real quick. Since we just looked at that, let's look at a fresh one. All right. If we're looking at Tesla, let me take the moving averages off. I think that everybody should really learn how to read charts without any indicators. The indicators should just be kind of your backup system, but the candle structure itself is going to hold out. It's going to show you a whole lot of what you need to see. All right. So this is the daily chart. I just got it zoomed out. I'm looking at the natural structure of support and resistance right now for Tesla. Okay. Just off top, you see that a lot of the peaks happen around this area right here. So if you just eyeball it, you're not trying to make it perfect. You just eyeball it and you just finding the natural peaks. Just zooming out, finding natural peaks for it. And then if you want to do the same thing, you're doing it for the support too. You just seeing what prices normally holds up pretty well. So once you see overall where prices just naturally gravitate back and forth to, then you can really start breaking it down. Now that I just got a big zone here and here, I'll zoom in a little bit more and then I'll just start reading chart structure from here. All right. As far as this goes, I think horizontal support is probably the best thing to find starting off because prices are always going to move to the right and up or down. So the best plays, in my opinion, are plays that we drew this out. You see prices start to fade down into the purple zone. This is when you start playing calls because you're looking for the slingshot moves back up before you actually trying to read something like this. So, prices can keep doing this up and down, ping pong and up and down. But if you don't actually know where the horizontal support is, you don't know when the buyers are gonna step in. Same thing like here, we just watched Tesla chop all the way down. But once we got into an area to where we've seen back here, prices tend to gravitate and hold up fairly well. That's when we can start looking for calls after it's been faded sideways for so long. All right, so um the question was, how far back do I look? I just zoom out until I see something that makes sense. J Loco, what's up, guy? How you feeling, man? I hope you had a great weekend too. Am I making sense though? As far as finding the support channels and the resistance channels and everything? Every chart's different. Yeah. So every chart's different. Even with Apple, I'm just scrolling out on Apple. You just looking for just natural peaks and natural support. We saw it peaked a little bit over here at 250. We saw it retest 252 and make some resistance up here at 288. We watched the ping pong here until it finally broke out. Now that this has finally broken out and not the top for the ping pong, anytime prices start to drop back in here, you're looking for calls for it to squeeze back out. So we're just looking at higher highs on a bigger scale. So um let's go back to the cues. What I said that we was gonna search for: 5, 3, 4 moving averages. Yeah. All right. We said we're gonna look for 745 calls on Wednesday. I got got stuff popping up. Wednesday 7:45 calls. All right, so as of right now, like I said, these aren't something that you just want to swing. I normally start the Mondays off just testing the waters, short expiration dates. Honestly, really honestly, a lot of our plays last week were the past 2 weeks. We've been hitting pretty good the past 2 weeks, and I've been taking shorter expiration dates because the market is is not showing us anything new. So it hasn't been making sense for me to just go super long expiration dates when the market's cooling down. We looked at SPY and we looked at Qs, and neither one of them are really making all time highs again right now. So longer expirations just it isn't it isn't appealing to me until we know which way the market wants to break. If we want to break down some more and discover some new lows, or break out and then go and discover new highs. So we've been having some success day trading some cheaper expirations. Um, if you've been following along with those, I know you've been satisfied with it. We sold out a Tesla super early Friday, super early. And then I know we traded Robinhood and made some nice profits on Robinhood, and even cut a day early on those too. When we was trading, it was at 104, 105, I believe, and then it ended the week around 115. So we've definitely been on the right path for the past 2 weeks as far as direction, and we're gonna see if we can keep it moving. So these 7:45 calls for Wednesday, these will be the direction that I'm watching as far as to the upside. Right now, these contracts look like they're pretty good below $100. So I'll watch list this tomorrow. I add it to my watch list tomorrow. I'll see how the prices hold up, and then I'll be seeing how, if we can possibly get an entry, if the direction is where we're looking for, below $95, and this has a nice upside potential, like 470. So it only took 3 days for this to come down, and that's with counting the consolidation and the theta decay. But these are how I normally get the big spikes from, um, going through the options chain on these and figuring out which price ranges these contracts hold up best. So as of right now, I'm looking at 745 calls between $95 and probably 45. I'm not even gonna see if it drops below 41, but between 95 and $45, I'll be looking to enter these and probably just day trade these, in and out as the price action chops. So this would be what we'll watch for the week on the upside. As far as the bottom side, we can watch for, and it's still right in the middle. Overnight prices are at 720. So like I said, we're going into tomorrow with a bearish thesis until we can actually break out these highs. So as of tomorrow, we can target tomorrow's lows if we're looking at a continuation. Um, and look at 700 puts. So let's go to the eighth. I bet you these puts are gonna be more expensive too. Exactly. All right. So these are 700 puts. Keep in mind the Q prices are at 720 right now. So we just about from 20 to 45. I mean, we're about what between 700 and 745. Yet these puts are way more expensive on the way down. Same expiration date, same distance away from the current price. Well, this closed at 712. So it'll probably be a little bit lower. But you see what I'm saying? $700 puts right now, they're holding up at about 160. They're finding a lot of support right here at 165. for $700 puts, and they're going from 160 back up to 372 and 480. So right now, puts are a bit more expensive than calls to the upside. So we'll still want to watch and see how this plays out. Mainly because with the Qs, we're coming off two bearish days, probably coming off of a bearish week. Yeah, definitely coming out of bearish week, targeting lows at the $700 range. So of course these are going to be a bit more expensive, simply because the market isn't cooperating in the bulls' favor right now. So those are the two directions we're gonna watch for: 745 and 700 on Qs going into this week. With the SPY, it was, let's go. We'll look at 755 calls. Those are probably gonna be more expensive because it's a lot closer. And then to the downside, that doji right there catches my attention. It's super weak on a daily. To close that flat, we barely broke that previous week's highs with 748. So like I said, unless we break these lows down here at 732, then that'll be the only reason why we have a continuation down. But that'll also be the strike price that I look for puts. We'll look for 755. Let's go to that same Wednesday. 755 calls. Crazy. So right now they're bouncing off of like the $20 mark, and then going as high as 200. So these these calls are losing like a lot of value very quick. Not really pushing or making any new highs. If we go and we look at these 730 puts, which that'll be targeting the previous week's lows, well, they're just as about as cheap just because of how SPY has actually been holding up. So I'm more neutral on SPY. These are holding up around $65, 57. So these are holding up around there, and unless we just get some type of sell off, these will pop at least for a good $300 or so. If the puts go back in the direction and we target the previous lows. So as of right now, I'm probably eyeballing puts, simply because this you don't have to risk a lot of money to make a lot of money. We know that 730, the 730 target is in range because the previous week's lows is 732. So this is extremely possible for prices to hit, and it got a nice range on it as far as profits. Like I said, we can make about a $300 profit if this goes in the money over 2 days, versus what we said, the 755 call. And these right now only have probably about a $200 opening right now. They've been rejecting around 195. So right now, puts are they just have the better upside ceiling that we're looking at right now, as far as the strike prices go. Now, if we go out a little bit further, then the contracts, the price ranges look a little bit different because it has more time for those prices to actually play out. But just looking at it from a midweek standpoint, the puts are looking a little bit more attractive right now. So that's kind of how I'm gonna read that. But of course, day to day, anything can change. Anything. So that's my outlook on the indexes. Let's look at some of these lists from after hours. One of them is CoreWeave, and I've been seeing a lot of people, try to get some starter positions in CoreWeave. Anybody fucking with CoreWeave here? Who dropping a couple bags in core weed? Uh oh. All right, Mr. Wick. Appreciate you for tapping in with the stream, man. I hope you have a super blessed night, bro. And we go ahead and get back to it and get this money being made tomorrow, man. All right, my boy Monkey say he's in court weave. Okay. So let's go ahead and break it down then and see what we got going on. Let's hide some of this on screen stuff and see what we got. Look, it looks like a downtrend. Okay. It does look like a downtrend. Let's continue to scroll out. All right. So we see that that it's in a downtrend, but do we see where the supports is holding up? Do any of y'all see where the support's starting to hold? It don't even have to be perfect, but we do have some support. Okay. Right, the 70s. Okay. So even though that we're in a downtrend, we're approaching some support around here. So this is kind of what we're watching. Crumbs Holding said he getting screwed by Corey. What you got? 145 calls for 717. All right, we'll check. We'll check out that options contract actually, and I'll show you the price ranges and see if we can look at how it correlates. All right, but as far as core weave goes, we are coming down to some support levels. All right, structures starting to fall into play. It's at 83.40 right now, so we're still trading in between this little zone right here. Do we see a breakout though? Or what will a breakout consist of? Got a little descending support right there. We got some trends popping up here. Okay. So right now we've actually broken that trend. We're watching it break this trend right here. What we need to see is what's happening right now. We need to see a gap up back above 85 or $86 and reclaim this trend right here. We want to see it at least reclaim the trend and not break it. Or next thing you know, instead of us watching it trade and ping ponging within here, we start watching it trade and ping pong within here. You know, at these lows at around 65 and then peaking at 80, $81 and see this one just happen. So, um, yeah, that's the actual structure as of right now. Let's zoom in and look at the actual candles though. So right now on the weekly, we're going on a second red week, and it has been selling off extremely quick, and we've seen this before. We've seen drastic sell-offs in core weed before, but we've also seen it recover some. This was probably the best return that it had post IPO, and since then it's kind of been exhausting sideways big chop zone. Big chop zone. All right, let me switch these colors. Let's do blue. Blue. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm marking out the bigger chop zones within what we're actually looking at right now. All right, so we're looking at 85, 102, and 143, and this is just what we kind of seen the price action peak over time, and these are kind of be like your strike prices. Okay. Well, J Loco, Bad fan, what's up, man? When you slid up in here, that boy got in here real smooth, like, but it's definitely better right now for shares just because we have been seeing exhaustion when it does try to break out and pop the top. So, like we're seeing right now, we are seeing some support between like 80 and 65. That's what we're looking for, some accumulation to go. We're coming off another bearish week and a break of trend. So we want to watch that, what the month looks like. Coming off a bearish month, and I'm sure a bearish quarter too. Actually, so here is what we want to see. Okay. All right. So everything else, as far as the smaller time frames, have been showing us what? Red, red, red. This is where learning how to flip through time channels to find time frames in order to find some type of long term structure. This is the 3 month chart. All right, so right now we've been seeing bulls hold up here at 73. Let's make that green, and then again at 67. All right, so now we cooking. Now we building something. So we've been seeing a drastic drops every time it gets within these ranges. What? The price action starts consolidating a little tighter, month to month, and then at times it has a nice explosion out of it to go and attempt to retest the highs. All right. The week. So let's go back in on the daily to see what we're looking at. All right, so the two bottoms that I just drew out on the 3 month, one falls right here, and then the other one falls right here, which coincides with the whole support structure that we drew out from the get go. Okay, so as of right now with core, we want to look at some type of bounce here around $74, $75, and as far as strike prices go, probably look at $85 or $100 strikes, just to keep it kind of spicy, keep it close, and give it opportunity to go back into money. So I think somebody had a core weave call. He had a 145. So 145 is right there. As you can see, is one of the levels, one of the peaks that I actually marked out. It's a couple of dollars short of it, but it's right there. Let's see if we was to rotate into maybe a 102 or a 105. So the 717 July call at 145. Just to look at how the Greeks are working for those. I mean, all the money is kind of poured out of it. If I'm looking at the right one, they close around like $7. So it has a ton of upside, but as of right now, exhaustion prices probably kick in. So you probably can get, if it turns around, this week, you can look at retesting maybe 220 and then maybe close to like $400. But if we go a bit closer and let's look at what did I say? I think it was 102. So let's look at $100 strike. All right, so the $100 strikes are pretty dope right now. They've been getting flushed pretty lately right now, but they should start holding up pretty well around this $100 mark. What was the other spot that they had? Let me go back to the chart real quick, fam. Um, It's at 83. You don't want to go too far. And even if we was to target previous week's highs, that's at that's at 99.69. So 717, 100. Yeah. So if I was to look at anything core weave related, I would see how this structure holds up that we just marked out. And I would look at probably these July 17 calls, the $100 strike price being the closest thing that I would shoot for right now. Um, there's not anything chart related that says buy just yet, but it does show on a 3 month time frame that these are levels that buyers typically like to step in at 73 and around the 67. And that's based off the previous two candles. Everything else that we're looking at, the weekly says it's still showing weakness from week to week, and from month to month, we're still showing weakness too. So honestly, I would probably even go out further than that. Than the July 17th, I'll probably head into like September or something, just to give it some time to play out. And those options will probably have a lot better reads. I think September 18th is a decent one. Yeah, but they expensive as shit too. But right now, prices still should start holding up on these $100 calls for September, and they might ping pong between here and like 1100. So core weave is volatile anyway. So if it does start to move, it's gonna move rather quickly, and the short dated ones, you'll get all the money you want out of it if it starts to actually move in that direction. You feel me? So let's see how it plays out. Um, reading some in the chat. Listen to some trading talk. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, my wife be killing it. She be killing Tesla. So ain't nothing wrong with getting the missus into a little bit of trading. She used to be cooking on Palantir, then Palantir price action dried up. So now she's starting to punch Tesla options in the mouth. Um, PGY and Velo. All right. And I'm holding my QQQ spot of the IWM puts. Pay for that. And my Microsoft losses too. I got an IWM 230 put. I like IWM though. And the only reason why it's a little stronger than the other indexes. It's it's definitely, the volume is definitely starting to dry up, but um those are liable to play out soon, but right now I don't see it until we actually start taking out some lows. It's like time in semiconductors. You know it's gonna come, but when, sometimes you just ain't sure. But it's been trucking though, and bouncing every time I get close to that 50. That shit bounces and takes back off. Well, I was just looking at that one. I'm finna look at this PGY, Pagaya Technologies. See, that's why I like looking at some of the tickers y'all be watching, bro. Cause some of these tickers be wild, and I just never even seen them before. It's came down a long way, so right now up probably is the only way it can go. It's a good company. It got technologies at the end of it, so shit. It seemed like that's what you got to add on to your stuff in order for it to go up nowadays. AI. All right, so has it been through some reverse splits? All right, so I don't know much about it, and of course you can feel free to fill me or anybody else in on what they do or the direction that you think that they're headed. Bob Dog posted on it. All right, so I mean we are seeing a good bottom for a structure in here. So it's definitely closer to the bottom than it is as far as the peak goes. As far as PGY, um, are, are you looking at doing shares or how you looking to play this? Fintech company, okay. Because right now, if I was to touch this stock, I'm touching it with I'm buying a whole bunch of shares. I wouldn't do anything options related. And the reason why I wouldn't do anything options related is just because it has a track history of long periods of consolidation. Okay. And I'm not just talking about like a week or a day. Like this time frame that I'm on right now is a monthly time frame. So I think you said leaps. Leaps would be it would be all right, but I think shares would probably be just a whole lot safer and cleaner for you with a stock with with the price action of a stock like this. So, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months of consolidation there. 3, 6, probably 6 months here, probably a year here. So at what point would I consider leaps over shares? If it's a company that's, the price action shows promise of climbing, like consistent high over highs. So like Palantir was something that when it was back cheaper, you can start taking something on leaps on something like that. Robinhood, I got into some new ones for long term stock holds for the last couple of weeks myself. Factual Energy, Hylian. That's a old EV stock before the merger, wasn't it? But as far as this company goes, I would definitely go with shares. Probably look for a retest of 32, maybe 44. It's not real much. It's not a lot of TA you can really do on it because it's so consolidated right now. You just can play the targets right now. 32, 44, buy below 17, and like $8. Rinse and repeat, load up on shares, get a couple profits, trim it, rinse and repeat. All right. Let's see. Q spy W puts. J Loco say Bitcoin recovering. It needs to. It's been getting flushed. So Bitcoin's recovery is something that it's not even a recovery really. Is what's needed to keep it balanced. All right, so I'm zooming out on the daily. You guys see it already? You guys see the consolidated area that we're reaching right now? So you see how sideways this has been. we've making that same sideways movement here, and now we're flushing back into it. So it's almost like we're in the middle of either reclaiming support or making new resistance right now. Uh, yeah, but it's almost like we're deciding either we're finna retest and reclaim R, or we finna retest and form a new resistance. So retest and reclaim or retest and resistance. I just made this shit up, by the way. Off the top of the dome, retest and reclaim or retest and resistance. But it's due for this price action to get, pulled back up. We're looking at the moving averages. Here's the 200. And if you know, once you're trading below the 200, I mean, it's technically it's on discount, but the down is still in the downtrend. The sentiment is still down as long as we're trading below the 200 on bigger time frames. On the weekly, we're trading water on the 200. Okay, it's trying for everything that it knows to reclaim the 200 on the weekly and hold above it. So this is why we've been seeing a lot of the crypto world, being shattered for a moment. But honestly, it's a good opportunity. You seen it trade below the 100 or the 200 on the daily, and they sitting pretty close to it on the weekly. These are the times to where you want to start buying the shit up. You don't want to buy it when it's pumping and it's making all time highs, because your risk to reward is gonna be limited. At some point it's gonna have to retrace back and find some support and see where investors are gonna want to load up and stuff. So right now these are the opportunities that you want to take if you want to build a position into crypto or Bitcoin. So it needs to come back to life. It is it's coming off a good week. So nice green candle for the weekly. Here we are. It's flat. Money really hasn't started flowing into it for this week yet. So we'll see how that plays out. Going against a big bearish monthly. So in order to invalidate this, we need to see prices come back up above like 7,400. But the good thing is, so far for the month, we're in control. Bulls are in control. Opening price here at 58.5. As long as we maintain prices above that, then we can continue shooting for the 7,400 mark on Bitcoin. So this is good for MSTR. This is good for Coin and all of the other ones that follow Mara. I think Riot still follows it, but all of your crypto stocks, this would be good to see it actually rebound. We seen a bit of that Friday, I believe. I think so. MSTR at least. Yeah, so we saw a little bit of it. I still got the shit drawn out from when we drew this out like weeks ago. Retest the rising support. Watch for accumulation between 104 and 78. And then we not gonna close. We didn't close. We were supposed to close above 126, but we didn't. So the Bears won that one. But we can at least go back and retest this 178, this moving average right here. So we can get out of that. But these two they're still holding up pretty well. The accumulation is standing on business. Bulls are starting to step in like we wanted to see. And like I said, we might see a nice little run on crypto because it's needed. It's definitely needed right now. So let me scroll through, see what some of you other guys be thinking of getting on calls on MSTR and IBIT. Good contract. So Good thing I scrolled through that. So right now, if we looking at it, looking at the structure, right now you're seeing a lot of support that was formed around here at 118, and then a lot of tippy top action like around here. So the two strikes that I would look for is a retest of 118, and if it gets even, a little bit more pumpy, you can look for like 135s. Let me look at this. So yeah, prices need to reclaim 116. Lows around 107, 145, 152, 102. So you actually can go out pretty far. We already kind of marked this out, 118 to 137. If I was to go off my dashboard, I would probably say 115 because we'll want to target that opening price. Let's see how those contracts look though. How far we want how far we want to go with this? It's looking pretty volatile. Let me open my calendar to see what this shit look like. All right, so the 10th. Let's start off cheap just because we're expecting some volatility. Let's look at the 115s for this week. A lot of the money's already flowed out of it. It's been holding up fairly well at, let's see, 30. So it's been holding up fairly decent at about $100. Let's go to the 17. All right, so these are at 280, which is still fairly priced, honestly, for the volatility that it has. For as much as it's been selling off, these are holding up fairly well below 250. So 250 to $75. You just have to kind of give it some time every other day. Well, it's been chopping right here for about a week. So mm, we might have been we might be right on time for that train, honestly. 116, what's the overnight price again? Like it said, is at 106. So I think we were right on time for a crypto pump if we want to enter this week. I would probably shoot for the 115 calls for July 17th, depending on the IV and the theta. But those 115 calls should definitely go in the money on this retest right here at 118. 118 to 120. Because as you can see, we got support where here, we got support there, brief support here before we finally dumped this past couple of days, weeks. That was holding up fairly well. So a retest of 118 and 120 of this support range, whether we roll over and go back down or we reclaim this channel right here and pump up to 135, 137 to meet these moving averages, that'll be a decent hold on the 115s if you want to be able to swing through them. So, um, MSTR eyes on 115 calls for July 17th. All right. And then if we want to look at IBIT, they've been getting punished pretty good too, of course. So same here. You probably look for 37 to 40. Let's see, 35. We right there, opening price 36. So for IBIT, I'll look at that. Probably go 717. Super cheap, $40 calls. And like 7 cents. That's because they be getting punished. All right, so these are a whole lot better. I like these. These are dope. August 7th calls, $40 calls. They're gonna hold value a whole lot better. So right now they get below 25. It's plenty of time on them for it to come back up. $25 to $45. That's like the ping pong right now. And this chain actually just came out. What, July? So one, two, three, four, five. So this option chain really hasn't been out too long. It's only printed 5 candles so far. So I would probably on IBIT, I would probably look at these August 7 calls, $40 calls, and look for them to at least get in. Shit, I think it's fairly early to get in right now. 25, $35. Hey, that's nice. I'm telling you, crypto's they're due for a rip. And if you hop in now and able to hold shit for a little minute, you can make a decent return. At 25 could push back up to 70. But rotate in and out of them. When you make a little money on some of them, trim them, take some profits so you can keep rinsing and repeat in case it wants to consolidate. You're not stuck watching it, ping pong back and forth, and you're not making no money out of it. Um, what else we supposed to be looking at? We looked at that one. CEPT. Let's check out that one. Wait, are they merged with somebody? So shit, what's the ticker symbol for it after the merger? Securitize. Man, look, I haven't heard of these. You feel me? So I'm trying to figure out who these companies are. Yeah. So it must just happen. The merger just happened because it's so far it's only printed what 3 candles. Chop zones. So it's ranging between what 1350, 1375, and then 1160. So it looks like you got time to do anything. Start a position or just build up shares right now while since the merger's fresh. oh they oh BlackRock, they trying to stand behind this one. If they finna pour money into it, it must be something that's gonna be nice. So you got time to play on this one. I need to see more candles print to see the direction. Either it's gonna break down below the lows, or it's gonna take out the highs and carry on from there. So just wait for the breakout in either direction. You said look at what, Ethereum. Ethereum looks dope. It needs to come back to life a little bit too. Move this back up. But it's coming back to life slowly too. Yeah, we got a little bottom forming like around here. Down. There's one. Here's another one. Here's the retest. Support back there. Resistance up there. So yeah, it's due for a bounce. We watch it come back up around 2 grand. So it's due for it. We'll see how crypto plays out within the next. I would even say 3 months. Let's see how crypto plays out for the next this last 6 months and see how it works out. Because it didn't benefit at all while the actual market was being pumped over the last couple of months. So um let's look at ARM. This was one that I wanted to watch out for. All right, so I haven't decided if I really wanted to trade it or not yet. I wanted to look at the spreads on it, but I'm watching ARM. Reason why you see that we got this nice, support range right there at 301. All right, so got some support at 301. It's meeting the 50 here on the daily. Nice support here, looking at the weekly time frame. Only problem is we were coming off of another bearish week. So I would want to first see if we can at least come back and break these highs. And then that'll give us a nice movement into the following weeks. So, this is just not me looking for something this week, but I don't want to see prices take out this 300 level. If we don't take out this, we could just be looking at a consolidation for right now, and we can see a bottom around here. Now, the reason why I'm kind of looking at ARM is because everybody's been expecting for semiconductors and chips to eventually um, come down, but a lot of us has just been either watching it trade sideways or missing the next spike. So I'm I want to watch something else that's not really in the spotlight, and ARM is probably one that I keep my eyes on. Buyers stepped in pretty hard, pretty heavily on this bearish month right here, and it didn't break. We never took out their previous month's lows, and it's been consolidating. So we still got 25 days. The month just started. Like I said, I'll be watching to see if it breaks here, but if it doesn't and it chooses to consolidate, we could actually be getting ready to come back out of it and keep pushing. So as of right now, let's look at 360 calls. Five, three, four. All right, so looking at these 360 calls right now for ARM, um, they're pushing like discounted ranges, and right now 200 below 220 is where I'm really starting to pay attention to it because most of the money would be drained out of it. The only reason why these 360 calls wouldn't come back into effect would be because why? Um, all right, J Loco, man, it's good that you stopped in, man. He say House of Dragons time with the wife. Like he gotta tap in with that. I still hasn't gotten into it, but I got that one on my little binge and watch list to see if it's worth it or not. So, but like I said, only reason why this wouldn't be a decent cause if it broke those 300 $300 lows and it just pulls away too far from it. But as of right now, this is just for weeklies. Um, as long as it don't break those and we can get in below like 225, that'd be super dope for a swing trade or even just a real early day trade to see prices move from this 225 back up to around like maybe $600. So 600, 750 maybe. I'm not expecting the full $800 push, move back to the upside, but we never know. So I do definitely want to keep an eye out for ARM and to have that on my watch list for going into this week because it can be super explosive if the volume does come in just right for it. All right, and at least target this gap that it looks like it left up here. So um, the 1 hour is showing some crashing moving averages. The 4 hour is below the 50. So like I said, this is more of a it's not a gamble, but you're just looking for buyers to step in at a level that's been tested pretty frequently and held. But if we do break below here, then we can see prices go back down. Probably target this gap right here. That's at 266. And that's probably going to line up with one of these previous candles too. Actually, it's 50% of one of these weekly candles. Yeah, so ARM weekly 265 puts. And even these puts have already ended up pretty cheap, going as low as looks like 150. And now they close at around 405. So, like I said, it's at a real crucial decision making moment. And whichever way it breaks, if it consolidates and holds and decides to push up later once semis decide to recover, then that'd be nice. That'd be an easy return on that one. But if it breaks down below 300, then that'd be a key level for us to watch and see if it rolls over and it continues to pushes its way down. But just watch out for that. See how it decides to play itself out. And like I said, for most part, most of the market's been pretty sideways. It hasn't been doing too much. As you can see, looking at ES right now, it's back trading below the opening price. Probably NQ is too. Yeah, trading back below this opening price, and that's what I said. We're expecting or looking for um, some prices to actually either consolidate or retest lows. And look at those moving averages starting to squeeze. So right now, this is where the bulls are continuing to step in at. This is our little zone. And this is actually a rejection area right now for ES. So it's gonna be interesting this week, family. We just have to stay on our toes and play it day by day, and see if the market gives us opportunities to make some nice profits this week. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. We went over a couple of stocks and figured out a couple of things and all. So it's always a pretty dope opportunity to chill with my Kingdom family, man, and see what y'all be up to and how everything's going, how you guys are watching, and then also answer a couple of questions while we're doing it. So no problem, my guy. And Crumbs Holdings, I did get your message about the fantasy league, bro. So I'm gonna get